Happy New Year, y'all. I think the only time people can tell I'm texting is when I say y'all. Anywho, was popping on really quick because I wanted to share a practice that I do with organizations when we start talking about expansiveness. It came up because I'm planning for a facilitation tomorrow and just finished a facilitation yesterday with an amazing group. So it's something that I've been thinking about and actually just had a conversation about this morning. What's happening with a lot of organizations is they're confronting a very intentional and harmful reality element practice of the nonprofit industrial complex, and that is to atomize, right? So to say you are this organization, you focus on this thing, you can't touch these other things. You are this. You are a arts organization. You are a reading organization. You are a um, rehabilitation organization, and what you've got to do is hyper specific to these things. The reality is, as most of our black and brown organizations know, our problems are not compartmentalized. Our challenges, the system and how it impacts us is not compartmentalized. And so what ends up happening is hopefully organizations start to realize that who they are, how they need to show up, and what they need to do needs to be far more expansive than just the arts presenting organization, the book club reading organization, or whatever the case may be. However, this is not permission to be vague. So that's a conversation I have with a lot of organizations. It's one thing to think expansively of who you are, and it's another to be vague about who you are. Vagueness is what happens when people haven't taken a time to really think about the worlds that they're trying to build and develop clarity around the different strategies and approaches and embodiments that are entailed in building that world. So vagueness is when I ask people, okay, you're doing X, Y, and Z, to what end? And they can't tell me. All they can say is, well, we want to end hunger, or we want people off the streets, or we want to make sure that people can read. Phenomenal. All great intentions, and to what end? So that they can read for what? Right? So they're off the streets for what? Starting to develop that clarity. That's where vagueness is. Expansiveness is saying, while I may be using arts as a means, as a vehicle, as a tool, as a way to connect, who I am as an organization and what I do is not strictly reduced to arts for art's sake. It's arts for connecting. It's arts for belonging. It's arts for world building. It's arts for healing. It's arts for upending, burning it all down, right? So expansiveness is where we all start to embody this network approach that people are talking about. It's seeing, I'm not an arts organization over here. I'm actually working on some of these other collective struggles that these other organizations are working with. And my piece just happens to manifest in this way. So I really need to be over here with them, connecting and working and sharing resources and knowledge. I could talk about this for hours. That was not my intention. The practice, right? So one way that I get people to think more expansively about who they are is, it's inspired by a practice that I learned from EMC Arts, their random noun generator, which is part of a larger, I can't speak suddenly, a larger pedagogy around lateral thinking, or that's what it's called. Thinking outside the box, we've been doing for millennia, but again, different conversation. The practice is inspired by lateral thinking and the random noun generator exercise. I have people write down different types of businesses, industries, organizations, etc. And then they pull from a hat or a box, whatever we have, what that industry is. And then we talk about how might you build the world that you're working to build if you were this organization. Usually this comes after we've done some mission, vision, world building work, right? So we've gotten really clear on how the world looks, why they're doing what they're doing, how that's manifesting in their organization. And now we're just trying to break them outside the confines of the box that funders and institutions and other gatekeepers have put them in, into thinking that they have to manifest in a very hyper specific way. So, an example is I might be working with an organization that does. Trying to think. There's so many that's coming up in my mind. That does. What came in my mind is rehabilitation for those who have been previous. Not even rehab. I don't like that word. Healing, reconnection work with those who have previously been incarcerated or have touched the justice system. And we might pull something and it says, all right, you're the United States Postal Service. So then we talk about, all right, you're USPS. How do you go about building this world if you're USPS? The intention is not to be silly for silly's sake. The intention is to jog us out of these very specific gates and parameters that we've put around ourselves in the work that we do. Because what's really cool is that in doing this exercise, people always come up with an idea that they're like, I could do that now. Yes, you could. That was the point. So, if you are starting the new year thinking about your strategy, which you should, and are looking for an exercise to do with your team or your group or your board, this might be a really good one to think about how to think about yourselves more expansively. It's particularly important if you're finding that your existing funding sources and funders and institutions and stakeholders and supporters are shifting. I had a thought, I'm going to keep that to myself. If you find that they're shifting, thinking more expansively allows for more dot connections to more, and more in the sense of more funders, different stakeholders, different resources, etc. So I hope that's helpful for you all.